public might just forgive the Conservative Party if we get to grips with some of the biggest problems facing the country. I absolutely agree with you that the public are still upset. I'm still angry and upset about what has gone on. And I go on the record many times. I've been on Times Radio criticising government policy. I'm not some kind of groupie for the government, but I genuinely felt that having a leadership contest with all this stuff going on would not be the right thing to do.
Boris Johnson said that last night it was an extremely good result, which enables us all to move on. Do you think it was an extremely good result?
Well, I think that he had a win, and my worry and the reason why I voted for the Prime Minister last night was that I think that the public want to see us get on with governing and helping with the cost of living, rather than have a circular firing squad and a civil war. And just to give you an example from my constituency, I met a shopkeeper over the weekend who said his energy bills had increased by £12,000 a year, and he was likely to have to shut his shop. And he wanted to know what the government was going to do to help him. What he didn't want was just the Tories talking about themselves, having a civil war and not governing the country and helping people with the cost of living.
But do you think, because it's a slightly circular argument in a way, isn't it? Because you can say, well, all this leadership stuff is distracting the government from getting on with it. And then you can also say, well, the stuff that brought us here, partygate, etc., that happened. And are people just to accept that it happened, accept what Boris Johnson said and move on? Or is it the fact that they don't feel that that has been addressed correctly, that there's been a deficit of contrition, perhaps, when it comes to Boris Johnson, that's why they're not moving on? If Boris Johnson had perhaps shown some contrition, more contrition, people might be able to move on. I mean, it's a kind of circular thing. It's not just people, the media, for example, making mischief, or is it?
No, I think you have a fair point. And this was a difficult vote for me. I was disgusted by some of the partygate stuff, particularly the recent revelations about Downing Street staff being rude to security guards and cleaners. And I felt that was unacceptable. And I want these people who did this to be held accountable. But I genuinely believe that if we did this in the middle of a cost of living crises, the war in Ukraine and COVID still going on, the public wouldn't look at us favourably either. And what I do think is the public might just forgive the Conservative Party if we get to grips with some of the biggest problems facing the country. I absolutely agree with you that the public are still upset. I'm still angry and upset about what has gone on. And I go on the record many times. I've been on Times Radio criticising government policy. I'm not some kind of groupie for the government, but I genuinely felt that having a leadership contest with all this stuff going on would not be the right thing to do.
The damage is kind of done, though, isn't it? Because if you look at the result last night, 211 for, 140 against, look at the spat that there was between Jeremy Hunt and Nadine Dorries. That's not going to get fixed, is it? That's going to fester.
Well, this is, again, you have a fair point, and I wish that Nadine Dorries hadn't done that. I think it's was totally unnecessary. People have very strong views on either side about everything that has gone on. And but I think the Conservative Party have a choice. Are we going to continue arguing amongst ourselves, being disunified, having a civil war, or are we going to try and get on with grappling with the big issues facing the country? And I don't think there is some magic wizard to take over, even if the Prime Minister had lost the no confidence vote last night. I don't think the public would have suddenly, our opinion poll ratings would suddenly have shot up, because there are many reasons why the Conservative Party are unpopular at the moment. And one of those is partygate, and another is because people are struggling to feed and clothe their families.
Well, is Boris Johnson the wizard, as you put it, or could Ben Wallace be the wizard? I mean, he knows a thing or two about Ukraine. I mean, who's to say that he wouldn't be able, for example, to lead policy on Ukraine or on the cost of living?
Well, again, you're talking about you'd have to have a leadership contest, which it isn't just about one man. If let's say there had been a leadership contest announced, that takes many weeks, possibly months, because they have to go around the country speaking to conservative parties all over the country. And what then happens is the business of governing stops, because everything is about the leadership candidates and what they want to, their policies for the conservative electorate. And I thought that we should be speaking to the public, not to the Conservative Party. And I also felt that in terms of these no confidence votes, that these things are better decided at the general election when the public can judge us in the round. And if so be it, if they're still haven't forgiven the Prime Minister by election time, then we'll face the consequences of that. But I think that if, as I say, that they get to grips with the policies, they communicate a proper vision, that he stands for social justice and cutting the cost of living, that he rebuilds relationships with the parliamentary party and rebuilds relationships with the public, particularly in terms of trust, then the public might forgive, and I say might forgive what has gone on.